try to keep in mind that Aturi is actually Swahili for little, so this is really called the little forest, which means you're gonna have to really keep a good eye out looking at all these trees and bushes. A lot of the animals, they have patterns on their coats, so that way they can blend in properly. So that way they can remain
get freaked out and they won't come
any type of
across.
predators or even us. But as we're making our way in, over on our left-hand side, I see a saddleful stork in the water. They're going to be in this little pond right here as we're entering on our left. They get their names because it looks like they have a little saddle on their feet. And unlike most birds, they don't have vocal cords, so they rattle their beaks around to communicate with one another. The females have yellow eyes and the males have dark brown, almost black eyes, and really that's the only physical difference between them. They both have a wingspan of 6 to 7 feet and incredibly long legs to help them get through water. Now over to our right-hand side, that's going to be an okapi over there. The okapi is striping on their wings very similar to a zebra, but they are the closest relatives to a giraffe. Both okapi and giraffe have very long tongues and very similar facial features. Technically discovered by Western civilization back in 1901, there's still not a lot known about them to this day. We do know they're endangered due to habitat loss, which is why it's so important for us to recycle. On both our left and our right hand side, we're going to be seeing the bongos. But there's also greater kudu here on the right too. And the bongo is going to be the darkly colored one with the laid back horns, and their horns actually help them get through thicker underbrush undetected, which is why they're also called the ghosts of the forest. They're rarely ever seen. Now that greater kudu doesn't have horns, and that's because she's a female. Only the males have horns at about 3 to 4 inches long, but both male and female rely their sense of hearing.
Oh, look at this one's right here. Oh, wow. That must have been a blitz in the road.
Now, if you look over to your left-hand side again, at the very top of this hill, you see a black rhino. The black rhino is actually gray in color. That also applies to white rhinos too. One of the main differences between them is their upper lip shape. The black rhino has a more pointed upper lip, while the white rhino has a wider one. The reason why we call them black is because they're usually around a lot of dirt and soot, and they tend to get covered in it. They're also thought to be solitary creatures, but really they like socializing at night. Meanwhile, white rhinos socialize all day and pretty much family groups. Now we're going to make our way out of Little Aturi and head over to the Safi River. Animals that live in Safi will either completely be in the water or very close to it. So we might not have the best views going forward, but we'll try to enjoy what we can anyways. Coming up on our right-hand side, the really large white birds we'll be seeing are called pink-backed pelicans. Their backs really are pink, so is the underside of their wings. But during their mating season, the top of their beaks will turn pink as well. They're also colonial nesters, meaning they nest in pairs ranging from 20 to 500. And they'll nest in trees with mom and dad using their feet to keep the eggs warm. To our left, we have doll hippos in the water. Hippos will spend quite a bit of time in the water. They hold their breath for about 8 whole minutes, and it only takes them a few seconds to pick their heads up, get a good look at the air before going back down. They're born anywhere between 80 to 100 pounds, and they can reach 2,000 pounds when they get to adulthood. They also bond with their moms for a whole year and a half. While mom and baby are bonding, other hippos like to circle around them to make sure they stay protected. Hippos have a reputation of being super aggressive, but they're also really just protective of one another and their homes. Freshwater crocodiles are roughly 16 feet long and 500 pounds. They like to eat about half their own body weight in one setting, even though that's not enough for them. They're going to go back to seconds. They're also capable of laying eggs. They put eggs in their mouth and then roll them around to put them. They also put eggs in their mouth and put the eggs in their legs. It's usually temperature that determines whether or not the eggs will be boiled or broiled. The warmer the temperature, the more likely they'll be boiled. The colder the temperature, the more more like another girl. Coming up on our right hand side, we have a baobab tree. It's also called an upside down tree because it looks upside down. But at the top are natural branches, not roots. Baobabs can go up to about 5 months without leaves. They store all the water they need inside their trunk to ensure survival. It will also ensure survival for some of the animals that live in the savannah, which will soon be entering. You'll probably recognize quite a few of the animals that live in the savannah, but there will probably be a couple that you don't recognize. Now I'll keep pointing them out as we're going along.
We don't want to be rushed on our ride, right? So we don't want to rush anybody else. We want to be able to start to see all the
On our right, at the bottom of the hill, we have the Hartman Mountain zebras and the wildebeest in the corner. When zebras are first born, they imprint on their mom's stripe pattern. That way they can recognize which mom is theirs. If you ever wondered if they're black with white stripes or white with black stripes, the answer is black with white stripes. A good way to remember is look at their noses. They also have a small flap band hanging from their neck called a dew flap. This is to help them regulate their body temperatures. That way they're not getting too hot or too cold. Their heart is also 3 times bigger than any other zebra. That's because their heart will produce a lot more red blood vessels, and thus oxygen, allowing them to live at their altitudes. Now the name wildebeest is Afrikaans for wild beasts, but they're pretty common creatures. They like migrating. It doesn't usually matter where they go, wherever the wind takes them. Every now and then you can find the migrating zebras, eagles, as well as the thompsons and the grand zebras. A group of wildebeest is called a herd, but they're also causing confusion because the predators come by and they run around the predator trying to confuse them. The herd is also incredibly large. It's one of the largest herds for mammals, ranging from 100,000 to about 1 million. And they look away and keep track of one another. They have 6 glands at the bottom of their feet and a distance to smell. So they sniff the ground, follow their nose, and find the rest of the herds easily when they're separated. And coming up on this left-hand side, we have Ankole cattle here. Ankole cattle horns are incredibly large. They get anywhere between 5 to 6 feet long, and they hold blood circulation. The blood will circulate through their horns, then go down to the rest of their body, dispersing body heat. They're also called Watusi cattle because they were domesticated by the Watusi. That was back in 4000 BC Egypt. But the behaviors they learned them haven't passed down the same way we pass down traditions. A little further up ahead, I spot a couple of Maasai giraffes.
I think they drink a lot.
A group of giraffes is called a tower. It makes a lot of sense. They're very tall and they tower over just about everything. When giraffes are first born, they have a 6-foot drop to the hot top on it. The drop will shock them into taking their very first breath, so within an hour they're going to be off and walking. It's pretty rare to really see giraffes sitting down, especially when they're out in the wild. They mainly stand because it protects them from predators. Even when they need to sleep, they sleep standing up. Granted, giraffes don't need a lot of sleep. They'll nap for about 30-ish minutes, and that's going to be it for them for the whole day. They're also a keystone species, meaning they play a pivotal role to their ecosystem and role being pollinators. Because they're so tall, they collect pollen at the very top of their heads, then pass it from tree to tree. Speaking of the top of their heads, those are horns at the top, is a bone called an ossicle. Both male and female giraffes will have them, but male poppies have them as well. Earlier, I mentioned that both giraffes and okapi have incredibly long tongues. But what I didn't really mention is that their tongues are prehensile. That means that they're capable of grabbing things with their tongue, the same way we grab things with our fingers. Their tongues are also purple. That's because they developed a natural coating to them, ensuring they're not getting sunburned, so they can spend most of their time eating throughout the day. If you glance over to the left-hand side real quick where the big bushes are, you should be able to see the common eland that's hiding out in the tuffets of grass up there.
Yep.
The eland is one of the largest antelopes around. They stand at roughly 6 feet shoulder
Right
height.
there.
But they're
Right
not
there
very
in the
fast
grass.
runners. They only run up to about 25 miles per hour. The males like to run through bushes to get loose on their horns, and they prance in front of the females to impress them. The females will either be really impressed or they'll be really unimpressed. They're not fully off in the form of rejection. And if you look over to the right-hand side, you'll see some really small antelopes walking around. They're called springboks. They're one of the smallest antelopes, standing at roughly 2 feet shoulder height. But they're incredibly good jumpers. They get about 6 feet high into the air and 13 feet across. Plus, they run up to about 55 miles per hour. They can also go years without needing to drink water. As long as they eat a lot of grass and plants, they'll be perfectly fine. We've got one more antelope to look at. It's over on our right-hand side. And they're right over here on this hill. Now, these are sable antelopes. They start turning that darkish brown color as they get older, and they live in pretty small herds. If the herd ever gets too large, they branch off into smaller ones again. Sables will be led by a dominant male and female alpha. The male is the one who decides that it's time for them to start migrating. But it's the female who determines where they go and how to get there. We have the mandrills. Now, elephants travel in a herd called a matriarchy, and the eldest and largest female will be the one in charge. The males aren't always as social as the females, and sometimes they use the matriarchy and live alone. In other cases, they make bachelor herds consisting of 2 or 3 male elephants max. Now, the mandrill is one of the largest monkeys around, and what sets them apart from others is that they have pouches inside their mouths where they can store food. The pouches are pretty large, they can store a whole stomach's worth of food inside. They're also omnivores, meaning they eat meat and vegetation, so they store either in their pouches. Make sure we're keeping the kiddos completely seated, please. Thank you. Giraffes are definitely one of the tallest land animals. Elephants will be one of the largest. The males will get up to about 13 feet tall, with the females get to about 2 feet. But they both weigh anywhere between 9,000 and 14,000 pounds. Elephants usually don't stop growing until they turn about 40 years old. It's really impressive because they live to be by 70. Our way through ripe apex. They act as a form of vitamins for elephants. The elephants will come over, get a little nibble to get the minerals inside, and they'll be off on their way. So maybe we'll see more elephants as we keep going. It looks like there are a couple more elephants we got over to the left by this baobab tree. Earlier, I talked about how there's water so inside the baobab trees and my animals rely on it. Elephants are going to be one of them. They'll take their test and get into the trees just to let the water flow out. And they'll drink up to 40 gallons of water in a day. They also have sensitive skin just like we do. So they take butterstein and apply it onto themselves, using it as a form of sunblock. That way they're not sunburned. They're also born with blood vessels inside their ears. So they plug their ears throughout the day to make sure that they're not getting overheated.
It's too small to sit right there.
Baby elephants are born at roughly 3 feet tall and 300 pounds, and it usually takes them about 20 minutes to figure out how to walk. That's really good for elephants. Since they're so small, they have to take at least 11 full steps just to keep up with everyone else. So they really spent those first couple of years running around chasing after everyone.
Look right behind this tree right here. There's going to be an elephant right there. Look at look. Look at the elephant.
On our left-hand side, we have the flamingos. You might notice that a couple aren't completely white, they're a little grayish. Don't worry, they're fine. When flamingos are first born, they're born gray. It does take them about 2 years of getting brine shrimp for them to turn pink. It's due to the carotene found inside the shrimp. Although whenever they lose their feathers, they tend to seeding white.
And there's gummy in there.
To our left, we have the white rhinos. White rhinos are one of the largest African rhinos, usually weighing about 6,000 pounds. Black rhinos, on the other hand, up to about 2,000, but they will stand at 5 to 6 feet shoulder height. The reason why we call them white is because it's a mispronunciation of the Afrikaans word white, which means wide. They were named for their wider upper lips. But just like us and the elephants, they also have very sensitive skin. So they roll around the mud, that way they're not going to get sunburned. It will also help them stay cool throughout the day and repel insects. They're also born without their horns, so it will take a couple months up to a whole year for it to grow in. And even then, the horns are still pretty small. They're also made out of keratin, it's the same thing you can find in your hair and your fingernails. Now, a little bit further up ahead on the left, I spotted a couple of ostriches walking around. The ostrich is one of the largest birds, standing at roughly 8 feet tall. Unlike most birds, they cannot fly. They are dirt runners, though. They get up to about 40 miles per hour, though they usually will stick their wings out off the balance. They also have the biggest eyes for birds. They're about 2 inches big in diameter. And they have really big eyelids and really long eyelashes to help keep dust out their eyes. There they are. Ostriches have a reputation of putting their heads down into the ground if they feel frightened or in danger. But that's not true. It doesn't make sense if you really think about it. What they really do is put their heads close to the ground to seem smaller and less visible, but in most cases they just run away. Now, while you're looking over at the left, also keep an eye out for cheetahs. They usually like to hang out back there on the hill. Cheetahs are one of the fastest land animals around. They get up to about 70 miles per hour, but they only hold it for about 100 yards. They also have what looks like a little teardrop that goes from the corner of their eyes and down to their cheeks. It reflects them to help them see where they're going.
It's following us.
They want to race.
Yeah. You gonna race with us?
In my bag.
Too cool. Oh, another one up here.
This information we're going to go around is monocopy, and some animals will spend time on it every now and then. That way they can seem swing up down the list.
Okay. Can't see him.
You might see them on the other side.
Now, it looks like we have a lion sitting on the edge of the movie. Lions are nocturnal creatures, so usually they sleep during the day, and they're going to be more active at night. Their eyesight is also a lot better at night. Granted, their eyesight is about 6 times better than ours to begin with. Their hearing is also really great. That's because their ears rotate, especially while they're out and about. That way they can always hear what's going on around them. Now, it looks like lioness is just a little bit up ahead of them. Now, lions are also one of the only big cats to live and work in prides the way that they do. A lioness is always the one to go off and do the hunting. Lion himself will stay behind so they have to their territory.
This one, the lion.
If you have any good shots.
Of the lion.
If you keep looking over to the left, you'll see a couple of warthogs over here by the rocks. Warthogs are very smart creatures. They find little holes down the ground. When they back them with their tusks facing outwards. That way, if predators come by, they're ready to defend themselves. They'll usually scavenge very early morning or very early evening to avoid as many predators as possible. If you've ever seen The Lion King, you know that Bilbo will stick his tail high into the air and usually it doesn't smell like right afterwards. In reality, warthogs do that as a warning to other animals that there's danger nearby, and then they should go somewhere safe.
Oh, here he comes.
Now we have some more white rhinos over to our right. They technically see about 10 feet in front of them, so they really rely on their hearing to understand what's going on around them. It helps them take their rotate in different directions from one another, so that way they can try and get a good idea of what's going on around them. Also to our right down in the grass, we have ostrich eggs. Ostrich eggs have a very hard shell in front of them to stand on without the furry egg. And they're pretty heavy too. One ostrich egg will weigh about the same as 24 chicken eggs, which is 3 to 4 pounds. We've reached our next stop, the Warthogs outpost. The Warthogs has been taking care of Nigerian dwarf goats lately. They make for pretty good pets as long as you have the right amount of space for them. Overall, they're incredibly playful. They like to run, jump, headbutt one another. All of this will help them reach maturity. They also provide goat's milk, which is healthier than cow's milk. Their bellies are also pretty big considering how small they are. That's because their horns, the fork purpose in their stomachs, don't help digest or nourish your food. That was the last stop for our safari, which means our safari is almost over. If you're looking to see more animals, you can always come back to Kilimanjaro Safaris. Those two safaris will be exactly the same. You might see some things and see some different. You can also head over to the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. This is coconut tour where you can see gorillas, hippos, meerkats, and camel rats. There's also a bird aviary. Or you can head over to Rafiki's Planet Launch. It's back towards the front entrance of the safari and you'll take the Wildlife Express to get there. Once you're there, you can head over to the action section, which is where the mess will get good. You'll see some more Nigerian dwarf goats and a couple other farm animals. There's also an animation class where you learn about the animal care. And they have an animal hospital. Every now and then the vet tends to do a couple of small procedures in front of a big window so you all can watch. If they're not doing any procedures, they might just answer